Your thoughts about this action today? What are the issues?
I think they're historically absolutely incorrect, and I think they're insulting to us as a people. And so
who's incorrect?
Those who the Congress, that bill passing was absolutely incorrect.
So what should it have been?
Okay, so the bill says, and what is being taught, and I'll just give you specifically in the state of Washington. And first of all, Roland, let me be clear. I have absolutely no problem with Juneteenth. My problem is the historical efforts that are being made and what's being surrounded. I call it the misrepresentation of Juneteenth. And so what happened in the state of Washington is they passed similar legislation, and this legislation has been passed a lot throughout this country. And in the state of Washington, similar to what they just did in Congress, they said that the legislature intends to designate Juneteenth as a statewide holiday celebrating the end of chattel slavery. So what people have been taught about Juneteenth is that those of our ancestors who was enslaved in Galveston, Texas, number one, they were the last Blacks to be enslaved in this country. Number two, that they got the word a year and a half late after President Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Both of those things historically are just incorrect. There is no other way to put it. Now, all one has to do is to understand this.
What is the real story of January 6th? Many people have asked that question.
Slavery ended in this country on December 6th, 1865, 6 months after Juneteenth. Now, going back to the Emancipation Proclamation, which everybody seems to get so twisted, keep in mind what Lincoln said. Lincoln said, for those states in rebellion against the Union, and there were 11 of them, but in the Emancipation Proclamation, Lincoln only mentioned 10 of them. And the only reason he only mentioned 10 is because the 11th state that he didn't mention was Tennessee. He didn't mention them because the Union already had control of Tennessee. So he said, for those states in rebellion against the Union, slavery is now free, over. Now, keep in mind, there were 4 border states in which slavery was still practiced. Those border states were Maryland, Missouri, Kentucky, Kentucky, and Delaware. So when Lincoln said that to him, I want you to imagine this, and you don't have to imagine, this is just a fact. When those 11 states left the Union, they didn't act as 11 individual states. They formed a confederacy. And when they formed a confederacy, in effect, they formed their own nation, which means they elected a president, Jefferson Davis. They elected a vice president, Alexander Stephens of Georgia. They wrote a Confederate Constitution. They were their own nation, Brother Roland. So when Lincoln issued, quote unquote, an executive order trying to tell them what to do, that's like the Prime Minister of Canada trying to tell the United States citizens what to do. He didn't have any authorization. That's why it took a war. So
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the In the Zone podcast. It is your boy, B. Foster. Brian Foster's in the building. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. We hope you had an awesome first day of summer day yesterday. Yesterday was the official first day of summer. And also it was the first day of Chi-Town summer because of Hyde Park Fest. So I hope everybody that got out enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed your Father's Day. Hope you enjoyed your Juneteenth. And that's where this show comes in.
You've been practicing that, haven't you?
No, this just came to me. I'm pro at this. So there's been a lot of conversation and chatter, as we always have in these social media streets, about whether or not we should celebrate Juneteenth. Is Juneteenth even a real holiday? As my man on the video just talked, a lot of us, I'm sure, the dates and the things we say we're celebrating aren't even historically accurate. And should anybody but us really be celebrating when the white lady in Myers tells me happy Juneteenth and I'm not quite sure how to take it? That's a question I have. When I see my neighbors next door barbecuing, happy Juneteenth, we got the day off too. All right, Chad. Fuck is going on over here?
You should be working.
Is it today? I thought it was.
I heard that.
Yeah, you should be working for me. I had a white guy come out to fix my air conditioner. I was like, that's right, Juneteenth, motherfucker.
Did y'all see the clip of then we got the intro, I guess. But what's her name? Gayle King. They had like a Juneteenth episode, and the one white anchor on that show was off, but all three anchors were on, and she made note of it.
But I'm
with
I
it.
saw that.
She
I
goes,
saw that. Yeah.
But I'm with it. If
She
today is the
talked about
first
it,
day of summer, please forgive me. I thought it was yesterday, but if it's today, first day of summer. Boom.
Yes, 21st.
All right, so Chantel,
yes.
introduce our lovely guest, if you wouldn't mind. First of all, hey Chantel.
Fuck me. Clearly, it's about the guest.
It's
No,
always-
I'm good. Brian, thank you for asking.
We talk like fucking 5 times a day. I don't
That's
even
true.
feel like fronting on the show.
That's true.
Like we don't.
All right, let's intro the guest. Now, she does not have to be
I don't even
introduced.
think
She
needs
has, she is the official, unofficial third co-host of In the Zone podcast. Gina B from the Gina B and Chris the Critic. Am I saying that right?
It's a
Relationship
Chris and Gina
show?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I think it's the Gina and Chris show, personally.
I like that. That rolls off the tongue
At least it
better.
should be. At least it should be.
It should.
Thank you, Gina. Welcome.
This is fun. I love being a third wheel or a fourth wheel, whatever we are today.
You are always the first wheel.
In the zone.
On the
show.
In the
Thank
Zone
you for having me. This is
Then
a fun
what wheel
topic.
are we? Is she the first one?
We have spare tire in the trunk.
Damn. Fuck that. And has he been on the
No,
In the Zone
this is an In the Zone
We are
movie.
breaking another In the Zone virginity, popping that cherry. Dean, correct? Because I just
Yes.
met him, so don't think I'm a bitch.
Yes.
I met him 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
Dean, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Good,
We're
good.
excited. Brian has talked highly about what your
Oh.
opinion is going to be, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Interesting. Brian
Oh,
speaks
yeah.
highly of me. Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, is that not normal?
I only shit on you all in front of you. I
Right,
talk great
right.
about you behind your back.
Right. Exactly. I
Like,
love
like
that.
a true friend.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
How many times I got to tell you, if I don't crack jokes on you, I don't like you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't waste the material.
Right. Right.
You would crack jokes behind their back?
No, that's what they talk about. But
Oh.
they better not.
All right. Okay.
Anyway, so come on, Sean, hit us with the first one.
All right. So this first question is because I just want to see, am I the only idiot that learned it when I was like a grown adult? Dean,
Yes.
when did you learn about Juneteenth? Were you one of those Whitney Youngins that probably learned it in 8th grade, or you like me sitting around at like 35? learning about Juneteenth?
The very first time I heard about Juneteenth was a little bit after the killing of George Floyd. I hadn't honestly, I'll be honest. It's not something I had really, heard about prior to. In terms of the celebration of it, obviously it wasn't illegal, a federalized holiday at that point. In before Juneteenth, obviously everybody was celebrating July 4th, Independence Day, right? So no, I had never before. What was it, 2020? I had never heard of Juneteenth.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you for making me feel better. I appreciate
Okay.
that. Gina, I
So,
know you knew about it. I know when you
I
went to
did.
school.
No, it wasn't in school.
Really?
It was not. We weren't taught, please. I went to too integrated of a school, and by integrated, I mean mostly white private school. They were not teaching us anything about Juneteenth in that school at
Yeah.
all. I'll tell you when I learned about it, though, it was still adulthood. And it was, though, when one of my very Afrocentric friends got married, her anniversary is Juneteenth.
Oh,
And so, happy anniversary, Tracy. And for her wedding, it was such a beautiful theme because every table they had like a historical fact about Juneteenth and about slaves that had, kind of made their way and freedom, etc. And so it was really cool to be at her wedding because if you circulated to all the tables, which she hoped everyone did, you would learn something different. So that was a really interesting wedding. So that's when, and she's now been married like 20 years.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so it's been a long time.
Feeling so much better. B, you went to Whitney Young. I know you walked in. They probably handed you a Juneteenth pamphlet.
Let me tell you what they were not pushing over the Juneteenth. All right,
Right.
that was not
the
a thing.
school system is a
That was not a
failure.
thing. No, I actually stumbled across it because I was in Texas in June in college.
Okay.
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 And my boy was like, "Hey, we going to this park for this Juneteenth thing." I was like, "For this what thing?" He was like, "Juneteenth." You're gonna have to elaborate, brother. I'm not
Just
Right.
pronouncing it.
Yeah, I'm
Right,
not
right.
right.
These
June,
Grandma brothers down
yeah,
here.
Right,
like it is
right.
June.
Y'all made a day? What is this?
It is June 19th. I don't. What do you
Yeah.
said what? He was like, man, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, oh, so as you all know, it's been a thing in Texas for a while, for forever. So I did stumble upon it in college, and to be frank, kind of forgot about it. It wasn't really like a thing. And then, social media, obviously my friends in Texas, doing, oh, that's right, that Juneteenth thing. That's right.
Mhm.
And then, obviously the past couple of years, it's been amped up. But I was aware of its presence a while ago, but it never occurred to me to really celebrate it.
Yeah.
Wow. So was it that you all just learned what the day was, or did you once you figured it out, did you start digging into the history? Like I just learned today, not just right now, but earlier, that Juneteenth or June 19th, 1865 isn't even the day the last slaves were freed. There were still, what was it, Maryland and Delaware, I want to say, still on their books had slavery up until at the latest was 1907.
1972.
Which is wild.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was still in the 20th century. Slavery
Isn't
was
that
still,
ridiculous?
we all know slavery was still a thing, right? Because they still had chain gangs and what was the other thing where they were still picking cotton, but they got paid. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, that's not
servitude.
How about the dirt?
sharecropping.
Oh,
Yeah,
sharecropping.
sharecropping, right? Those are still forms of slavery, but to know that there were people literally in bondage to 1907
Still in
is
slavery.
wild. So myself, I actually dated a guy when I was 27 who
Was a
was from
slave?
Texas, and he was telling me about Juneteenth celebration. I was like, "What the hell is a Juneteenth?"
Mhm.
And he explained it to me, and I was like 27. I'm like, whatever. So I didn't hear it again until I think probably all of us started hearing it. Maybe I was 35 through social media. People started talking about it more and more, and I was like, "Huh, it's real fucked up." Now it just continues to be more fucked up when we found out another state didn't abolish it until 1963. But we'll see what state that is. So now
Listen,
it's probably not even going to be Mississippi.
I
It'll
don't
probably be
know.
Michigan.
I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing.
It could be Indiana.
Right. Shit, it could be Illinois. So to answer your question, there was a question at the beginning of that. So when I found out about it, I didn't do any research because I still would have had to go to an encyclopedia back in those days.
Oh, that's right. You're old.
I'm old, right? And
Right.
I'm sure Juneteenth wouldn't have been in my Britannica. So
Maybe.
I don't know, maybe. So I didn't really dig into it until maybe 7-8 years ago, where I kind of really started educating myself on it.
How did you all feel? Like, Gina, how did you feel once you start digging into the history, right? Now I don't know how far you dug,
Mhm.
but even just these intermittent things that we get, how did you feel? Were you surprised at all?
I wasn't surprised. I mean, what we learned in school was the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, right?
Trash.
And in my head, as a child, when we learned that, what you think, because you think that information is widespread naturally,
Mhm.
you think, oh, that's the day that everyone's running around.
They
on the
call them making
plantation,
phone
right?
calls?
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
We's free. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
everybody
Bust
knew.
out the church.
Right. Like, and it, it didn't occur to me that there would be people who just really didn't find out until a year, until
Mhm.
Year and
a
half
long
later.
time later,
Mhm.
right? And so it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know that I feel completely as though it's something to necessarily celebrate.
Oh,
I felt that it was something more to commemorate.
Interesting distinction.
we'll get a dig into
We'll
whether
dig into that.
you appreciate them cookouts. So it's Juneteenth
Yeah.
in a second.
Well, I would say that in this country, federal holidays are put on the books to commemorate aspects of American culture and heritage that have significance.
Right.
And so this probably was a long time in the running for some people. I don't know if I've not had my colleagues talk about Juneteenth, and we don't talk about the significance of holidays. We take a day off, we cook, drink, right? So a lot of the aspects of the culture of the holidays in terms of the significance of the reason for the holidays is lost on us, right? So if we're going to have a serious conversation about Juneteenth and the significance and how we take the significance of the events that underpin it, and maybe I don't teach to our kids or incorporate in our education system, then that's a different conversation.
Right.
Which we shall have later.
Dun, dun, dun.
A lot of setups here.
Well, they get it.
I
I just thought that trying to speedball through the question. So
like
now you've talked a little bit about this is now a national holiday, right?
Right.
Biden, I'm gonna have to take a couple of hits on you right now. Biden came in, he said I was gonna give y'all student loan, no more student loans. We gonna somehow reward the black folks for voting for me. So the reward was Juneteenth.
Okay.
So
Wait, some student loan shit happened.
Did it? No, it didn't pass.
So
Mark's talking about they got that shit relieved.
They did.
They got 10,000 out of like
Hey, listen,
250,000.
Hey, listen, I know people talking about thank you for paying my student loans. I didn't see many a post, and I know this because I was salty.
maybe their student loans were only 10,000.
Maybe.
I don't give a shit what it is. I ain't getting nothing.
Right.
That's your fault for paying it off.
Well, I know,
You should have been like the rest of
God
us.
forbid,
and
I'll be
deferred it.
responsible to pay my shit up.
Like
Listen,
everybody else.
the feds can keep that 10K.
So, don't you guys think, though, as far as the getting the Juneteenth thing, here's how I've always felt about it. I always thought it was a very timing-based activity because of the timing of the George Floyd murder.
Sure.
And people felt as though they needed to do something for Black people during that time. Black Lives Matter and blah, blah, blah. And there was all of this, like, you know, you're not just going to kill us anymore, blah, blah, blah. And Juneteenth was the closest thing in timing to the killing of George Floyd. So let's do something immediate. Juneteenth. Let's give them Juneteenth. And that will pacify them. I think if George Floyd had been murdered in the fall, then we may be talking about something completely different right now.
Still be going to work on June 19th?
Probably. Probably.
I think that's fair.
I think it was very timing based, and I think some PR company was like, "All right, what can we give the Black people?
I mean,
let's get into a room."
What Gina is talking about is essentially, politics, or some people say identity politics, right? It is timing, right? Just like all this DEI stuff was timing after George Floyd. We saw it was, for major organizations, even the federal government, it was a time for them to spin on that, right? To spin on George Floyd's death. I mean, we saw Breonna Taylor that year too as well. Breonna Taylor, the young man out of was it Georgia that was running?
Oh, Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery. Yes, and I think President Biden took that opportunity to, he came in office, and I think he thought he was thinking to himself, this is an opportunity for his legacy to be that of, doing something for Black people. And so, to Gina's point, it was definitely opportunistic for large companies and the federal government.
Yeah.
But to your point, right? Juneteenth. That's your legacy for Black folks, is giving not Black Americans, but all Americans the day to go drink, as if we need another day to drink
Well, nobody's
tequila.
I'm just saying. Listen, nobody's saying that you got to go drink on Juneteenth.
Yeah, that's not really. We turn it.
That's what we do. But that don't mean everything got to be a barbecue and a drink
holiday.
fest.
Yeah.
You don't have to eat watermelon for every holiday.
Right.
And I want to
But
say,
don't we?
No,
I
I
mean,
don't
we
eat one.
don't.
I don't
But
either.
I like watermelon.
Here's where I push back on some things I saw some people on social media saying, and I don't disagree with them wholeheartedly, but I do disagree with the underpinnings of this premise. They gave us Juneteenth, to your point, Gina, to give Black folks something, to pacify us in some way, to, as you say, establish
I imagine some kind of goodwill.
some goodwill, some credibility, and a legacy in some way, right? That doesn't mean that reparations conversations stopped or that they have to stop just because we got this. All the people like, oh, they gave us a pacifier. Now y'all not talking about reparations no more. No, California and I believe Colorado, I forget the other state off the top of my head, just passed some legislation around reparations. So the conversations are still happening. I don't think it has to be our pacifier. If we accept it as a pacifier, then that's on us.
Right, yeah.
But do you all think that was really the goal, right? Because if I just look at history, right?
I think it might have been a little nefarious.
Is what the goal?
Was the goal really to pacify? Because if we think about it, Biden promised a lot of cool shit when he was running. He promised reparations. He promised student loan relief.
Right.
Well, you actually believed him.
I mean, they all promise.
Well.
Did it matter what he promised as long as he wasn't Trump? For a lot of us.
Well, a lot of us.
For a lot of us, yeah.
For a lot
he
of
had
us.
to do a little bit more than not be Trump.
I mean,
not much.
I mean,
For me.
realistically, it was like,
For me, it didn't have to do much.
I mean, politicians make promises all the time, and I don't really pay attention to many of them, right? And I'm not saying that none of us should, because we should hold politicians accountable to what they promise. I just think that, as far as reparations as far as Juneteenth is concerned, the message there was probably supposed to be, when cops are able to kill Black people with no kind of retribution or consequences, what that effectively means is that we're still enslaved. So what better way to show that we're not enslaved than to celebrate the day that we were no longer enslaved?
That's a good point.
You know what I
It's
mean?
still a little air quoting.
And so it's right. And so it's kind of this, I think, tricky psychology
Mhm.
that was used, which is why I don't believe in having a barbecue for it.
Mm.
Personally.
All right.
Mm.
But okay, so he's made it a national holiday. Was that the move? Was that the right decision?
Those are the right move.
Was it the
Well,
was it the
it
was it the
wasn't-
What were the
wasn't-
alternatives?
It wasn't something that
do
was,
nothing? Definitely was an alternative. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, making Juneteenth a federal holiday wasn't something that was in, Biden's campaign pitch, right?
Because you couldn't have seen that coming.
We couldn't have
Right.
seen that coming, right? So this was opportunistic, for him and for Democrats, for them to put this into play. And I think you saw most large organizations, their leadership, obviously predominantly white, right?
Right.
Seize on this moment, right? And take, there's money in the marketing of pain. There was a lot of money to be made marketing to the Black community, given George Floyd's killing. What we saw after that was just remarkable. The riots all over the country. Nobody can never have saw that coming.
Right.
So honestly, I'm not sure of what significance of it that we really should take from it. I mean, obviously we know, slavery ended on this particular day, but it's just another federal holiday. But I will say, just like Hispanics have their holiday and they drive around with their flags and everything,
Right.
this is the same sense for Black people to have their day, right? So for a lot of Black people, that's pretty significant in this country.
You're not encouraging us to drive around up and down the street with
So
African flags
there
blocking
was a lot
traffic.
of
That's
that.
not-
Well,
that's not what you're.
listen,
That's not what you're advocating for.
I'm saying that.
there was a lot of that at the on 79th Street when I went to the
I'm
Woodlawn
saying that,
party.
do it.
A lot of people had the black, red, and green flags in their cars.
Yeah.
So this country is marred by these events that all these different ethnic groups that built this country and that came here. The significance of that, and the government, does what they can to try to recognize that.
So I'll say this.
We have a comment from a white person.
I see.
Well,
Sarah-
welcome.
Sarah,
Hi.
Hi, Sarah.
Sarah, thank you. And actually, Sarah's has kind of just led to my point in a way. The question is, was it the right move?
Mhm.
I think it's the right move anytime we can, our culture, our history, as tumultuous as it is, gets put in front of mainstream America. And maybe somebody learns something, takes the time to educate themselves, takes the time to relate as close as they can to our plight. Figures out like, oh, shit, Black people been getting railroaded for a long time. Maybe they go to an exhibit and see something. They have a conversation with a Black friend they've never had, right? Any little learning moment is crucial in this country for us. So if it takes Juneteenth for somebody to take their first steps into the DuSable Museum, if it takes Juneteenth, shit, for us. A lot of
That's
us don't
facts.
know our own history.
I ain't been a DuSable since I was a child.
So if it takes us even a little cultural pride,
Mm-hmm.
ripping and running up and down 79th Street, drinking a 40 and having a red, fuck it, I'm with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we get a moment to celebrate us in any way we can, I'm going to embrace that.
Yeah.
We've been hinting at it, right? So let's get into it. Wasn't gonna be the next question, but let's hop into it. And actually, do I want to respond to that? So, do I think it was the right move for Biden to do Juneteenth? Not really.
Okay.
I don't. Mainly because and this is one of the questions, like I feel a way about having our oppressor have the ability to chill on a day that they should really not be able to chill.
Let's get into this.
Right? I don't like this idea that and anything I'm about to say is not personal to any white person watching this show. I'm sure you all are lovely, lovely people.
So take it personal.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm real uncomfortable that my people were in servitude for 500 years and you get to chill, which you've always done, right? You've always been able to chill. You've always been able to relax. You've always had people working for you in some capacity or the other. And the day for us to celebrate our people being freed, at least theoretically, you're still chilling. I don't like it at all.
Chantel.
I don't.
Chantel.
What? I still don't like
Do you
it.
celebrate Thanksgiving?
Yes, as a moratorium for the Native Americans. Yes, I do.
As a
Yes, I do.
you've
Moratorium for the
been
Native
practicing
Americans.
that sentence.
I
As
said
a
this to you
moratorium.
when you asked
Yeah,
me.
but that's bullshit then, and it's bullshit now. You go to your family's house and you get your turkey and you get your dressing and you get your macaroni and
facts.
cheese
It's
and your
facts.
green beans and all that
Yeah.
shit. What
But
I'm
I
saying is,
What I'm saying is
Thanksgiving don't have shit to do with you.
But the difference is
4th of July don't have shit to do with you.
I
it
didn't-
really doesn't.
I didn't murder any Native
I'm not
people
saying you did.
for my people to be here.
No, that's a fair counter. My point though is, then if we're talking about only the people that suffered, and then only Native Americans should get Thanksgiving.
That's fine.
And I'm just
Well,
saying.
Okay, well, keep in mind that Thanksgiving has been a holiday that's been around since before any of us were born. And it's something that it was misrepresented to us when we were taught it. And it's just something that we've grown up with. The Juneteenth is new. And it's a newly established thing. And we have an opportunity with Juneteenth to do something a little different. I think that if Thanksgiving were to come around now, we would have a different opportunity to commemorate the arrival of people to the United States, or the slaughter.
Wow, that was so kind.
That was
so kind.
slaughter.
the genocide of all the Native
Genocide.
Americans.
Native Americans. Thanksgiving is not about their genocide. It is about
That's
what
giving
we
thanks.
know.
Thank you for letting us kill you and take your land.
It is for the
For teaching us how to
natives
survive this
allowing for the natives being kind enough to provide the pilgrims
kind enough.
food and
Kind
shelter so that they would not freeze and die on the
Kind
coast of
enough,
North Carolina.
Justin.
Kind enough. Okay, it's a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. What the fuck are you talking about? Kind enough.
Yeah, that's what Thanksgiving
That's
is for.
the yarn we were spun.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that's probably bullshit, I'm sure. But
Kind enough.
Well, I just think that, see, to your point, Chantel, though, it's, I, at the time when Juneteenth became a thing for us, I was working for a company where, first of all, I was working for a Canadian company, so they really didn't get it, right? And that we had a lot of representation in the U.S., which is fine. Most of the company was in the U.S., but I was actually the only Black person in the organization. So then it became, Gina, what do you think we should do? Of
course it does.
Gina.
It's more. It's so it's just even I probably have the opinion that I do because I felt like it was just another way for tokenization to happen for me, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, so I need to be Miss Black People, like I need to be the representative of all things. And so we ended up not the first year getting the day off, but the managing director of the practice that I worked for is like, I'm giving it to my people. I'm giving my people Juneteenth off because I was one of the people, her people. Well, she's Jewish, so she felt a different thing, right?
Yeah,
So she's actually cool, but
sure she is.
but I was like, no, I don't necessarily need to be
Right.
given anything special for this
Yeah.
this holiday. And
Yeah.
now it's like, it's funny because in my company now we were given it obviously the corporate holiday, and it wasn't necessarily really acknowledged per se. Like it was Juneteenth. Last year we had a big Juneteenth panel. I was on that, and we have more Black people at this company.
Yeah.
But I was kind of grateful that we didn't do that this year because I was on the panel and like, whatever.
Well, they figured y'all heard us last year. You know what's going
exactly.
on.
We don't need to do that again.
We don't need to do that again.
Right.
That's been covered. Check.
So we're done. We're done here. But I have a client who, Black founder, because I work with a lot of venture startups, and my colleagues were saying, "Oh my God, he's terrible. He's not even giving his people Juneteenth off, right?" And so when he and I talked privately, he said, "I am not giving white people Juneteenth off because most of the people that work for him are white people." And this is so funny because
that's so
of the
interesting.
difference. He was like, "No, they're
Yeah.
gonna be in here.
No,
working.
you gonna work.
They're gonna be in here working for me on Juneteenth."
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is so interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's a
so
different
it's just like,
dynamic.
It is
no,
very
no,
different.
No.
Yeah.
So so it was, I don't know. It's everyone-
There's two parts to this. There's
Good question, Sarah. We'll come back to that.
there's the side of the argument that says that this further contributes to the divide between people in this country and not necessarily bringing people together. And then there's the side of the argument that says that we should embrace multiculturalism. This Juneteenth actually further divides everybody in this country, because now you have blacks that have their own holiday and their own significance of what they celebrate, separate from everything else. And what Gina just said is, I don't want to give whites a day off.
Right, that's what that was his
a
feeling,
black
yeah.
commemorated holiday. So we keep.
So how do you do that? Do you
Yeah,
just
we
say
keep
only the black
feeding-
people can take off today?
Yeah,
That's what Sean
so-
would want.
Yeah. So we
Of course you
keep, we keep feeding the racism dynamic.
Yeah.
Right. We keep feeding the racism dynamic, and it's a slippery slope. It's a conundrum that we can't get past.
I mean, because how do you correct it though? Like, what is how do you stop it from being a divide?
You can't, because the people in power by majority are white. The people that have the money are white.
But is it just the people in power? Because somebody put them in office.
That's another conversation.
So that's a whole other show.
It is, but I mean, I'm
We-
saying that like the reason why Trump got in office for a reason.
Yeah, it's true.
He's got followers right now for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I bet you all them motherfuckers took yesterday off or Monday off.
They sure did.
Right.
That's your alms. Like,
And
Yeah.
thanked all the
Thank
niggers.
the
while they
niggers.
were at it.
Yeah.
Thank you, niggers.
Yeah. It's we say people, the people have power through their vote
To an extent.
but even who we vote in, it still doesn't guarantee anything.
Oh no,
right?
it doesn't, because I'm saying politicians make promises.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
black
I mean,
politicians just
people pretty much knew who he was when they put him in office. I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was
Absolutely.
rooting for who he was.
Yeah, they were like, we need this.
Sarah made a point about piercing the veil that I think was interesting. Jake, if you wouldn't mind throwing that one back up. And this is what she agrees, and she says, how is this possible that maybe if this could contribute to piercing the white veil, conversations proper, so on and so on. So this is what I was saying earlier, because I agree with her. I think that if utilized correctly, and I'm not saying everybody will. I'm not saying every white person is up to having the conversation. I'm not saying every black person wants to have the conversation, much less lead it, as Gina said, again and again and again, right?
Let's turn to our resident black.
Right.
Gina, you say what?
That's right. What do all black people think, Gina?
Right.
So, like, as if we're mindful. But I think, I'll say that if one white person, takes that day and takes an hour and learns anything about our history, it's a success to me.
Okay.
That's just my personal opinion. If we can shift one mind at a time, 10, 100, whatever the case may be, and this day helps contribute to that shift, then I'm with it. I've learned way more. Like, listen, I like to get out there and have my tequilas and tacos and Cinco de Mayo. And then I was like, well, what the pause be?
Right.
What's Cinco de Mayo really
What
about?
is it?
Right.
We
Yeah.
don't
And
even really know.
yeah, and I took some time.
We're
and
largely uninformed people.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
we are. And
Exactly.
I Googled it, and I don't claim to be any Cinco de Mayo historian.
Right.
But I at least have
couldn't tell
some
you.
representation of what it is. And when I'm talking to my Latina and Latino brothers and sisters about it, I can have some type of intellectual dialogue.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't know what it is.
The hell
They
no.
don't.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's all I ask, is that people stop and educate themselves, not only about the holiday, but about us.
Yeah.
Right.
And if two people did that on Juneteenth,
Yeah.
win for me.
Yeah.
I know Chantel just want all the black people just to be off it, nobody else.
That's not what I'm saying.
What do you say? I'm bringing you back in the conversation.
I feel like we should treat it like the Jewish holidays.
The high holidays
Yes.
where
The Jewish people are gone. Nobody ever says anything. Then when they just come back and you
I
just
go
know
with
why
'em.
they're gone.
I'll go with them.
And do what?
just
Light a menorah and put on my yarmulke and
I'm just saying.
I'm
I
going to a bar mitzvah next month.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
or
I'm
maybe,
excited about it.
maybe I
Get a
don't know.
little brie. What's
Clearly, I stepped away, so I don't know
That was about
how I got in here. But
Brie. That's French.
I was saying, I
brie,
like brie on Jewish holidays.
Bris is cutting off. Anyway.
I know what
you
yes.
want cheese on Jewish holidays?
Yes.
No, a brie and a bris, two different things.
very much.
Cheese versus foreskin, very different.
Whoa.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know where we left off.
That's all right. Keep moving.
I don't
Well, we
I just
were
couldn't
having a
look.
conversation about whether or not others, how it's commemorated, and if others should celebrate it. To your point of, you think it should be celebrated as the high holiday.
I do. I mean, if we're gonna make it a okay, fine. I would prefer if it was just like a day the black people take, like the Jewish people, they take a holiday, we're gone, and you come back, right? And do what black people do. But now it's a national holiday. So what should the others, i.e., white people, do during this time?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I mean, I guess
Are they why are we asking the question what they should be doing during this holiday?
that's because we can answer
They
it
should be
and
organizing
provide
their
them some,
closet, just like I
some
do.
guidance. Should they hide in the house? No, I think you said something interesting earlier. Go to the DeSabo. go take this day instead of drinking at North Avenue Beach. Maybe, read a book about, the Great Migration, or actually read about Juneteenth, actually read about the atrocities of slavery, actually go against what Florida's trying to do right now, which is not educate anybody about anything regarding Black people.
Let's just raise it
And just and actually immerse yourself in the actual history of how Black people got here.
So I'm going to put this back on us a little bit.
Of course.
If we want them to, I'm just saying, if we want change, we got to be the change agents. If we want that, then we have to provide them opportunities to do so, right? If we're just going to depend on them to hit Google and do this, maybe not so much. But if we go on in the North Ave, Lincoln Park, if we go into Oak Park, if we go into places where they are and have some Juneteenth activities,
you want us to like hand out pamphlets like what are those people called?
Like the Moonies,
like the Hare Krishnas?
No. What the people that come in the doors that Jehovah's Witnesses just giving out pamphlets?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying let's have an activity there. Let's put up a stage in the middle of Lincoln Park and have some dancers and have some this same shit we're doing in Inglewood. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it there too. I'm saying, but we have to provide them spaces and opportunity for them to stumble across sometimes. And be like, oh, wow, look at this.
I don't like the dancing part. Now, if they go sit here,
we dance? There's nothing wrong with dancing.
I
didn't say footworking. I didn't say foot. I'm talking.
Those Black people are always so entertaining.
Right. If you go to an Irish fest, they do an Irish. I get your point, but I'm saying there's a multitude of things we can do in order to educate them on a multitude of things. But we might have to
give them some collard greens.
We might have to bring. What's wrong with fucking collard greens?
You know what?
It's not about the holiday.
I was in New York yesterday.
You brought up collard greens.
I was in New York yesterday at my client's office, and they had a Juneteenth buffet.
Ooh.
They sure did have collard greens and fried chicken on it.
So how good to
and macaroni and cheese.
Oh my God.
Listen, hold on. I know why we all against eating watermelon in public and dancing. And so I'm at a corporate event and I'm the only Black person there and they start line dancing. I ain't doing the shit. I'm probably not dancing at all. I'm just not gonna beat them up. Like, hey, look at that. Hey, come on, Black guy, jump us. No. I'm not gonna. No.
Juking.
Yeah, but
for the Lord,
we can't always say anytime it's a listen. If my job had a Juneteenth fucking spread on Monday and it was some fried chicken and collard green, I'd have been excited than a motherfucker. Y'all can say you can say whatever you want. I don't want shit. I don't know.
I had a long
spam or turkey product or whatever the hell they want. And then here's the thing about Black people too. If they give us what we know we do, let's be honest, we gonna trip. If they don't give us what we know we do, we gonna trip.
Kiana's right. It's the same.
It is the same.
Yeah.
It was a good buffet, by the way. But
goddamn right
I'm
it is.
sure it was.
It was good. They at least got it from a good place.
Now, if an organization was smart, I'm gonna give y'all a little pointer. White corporations, what they would do is instead of doing a Black buffet, they would have it catered by Black caterers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would pick all Black businesses, Black caterers to provide their specialty dish. It could be Black, it could be ethnic or not, but you showcase and highlight Black business, not stereotypical food.
Yeah,
that would be my suggestion.
And you know who does it? The Black people.
Yeah.
Let's plan the shit.
Yeah.
And then we can't complain about what we do.
Economic support.
Yeah, exactly. So to that point, I worked for a financial firm a couple years ago, and this is well before George Floyd, well before the pandemic. This is about 2018. They appointed their very first chief diversity officer, and as part of that appointment, his job in this predominantly white company that had never had any type of diversity initiative at all was to essentially cater to each cultural, racial, and ethnic group within the company. A very daunting job, I can tell you that he had. He's now he was chief diversity person at Groupon. He's now moved on and doing something else. I won't mention his name, but I worked with him because I was one of a small cadre of Blacks at the organization, and just like he would have to coordinate and do research for caterers and vendors for Diwali. We'd have to do that for Black History Month. And to your point, we did look for Black-owned food vendors to bring them in to spend that corporate money with them. So that's a good use of what we're talking about here is, bringing Black-owned businesses in, something that benefits. There's some cultural benefit. We know it's a facade with the whole, the way corporate America
Sure.
does it. But yeah, let's dole out some corporate dollars to some Black-owned businesses and have them come in and cater.
Well, if you have a chief diversity officer, that usually means that you've made an investment in
Right.
in that
Mhm.
kind of
At least
culturally.
a token investment, but it's an
Well,
investment.
Yeah.
right. I mean,
I'd
some of
probably
them
go
yeah.
with that.
don't have
Yeah.
the
But
best
still,
job
Mhm.
descriptions.
Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting, and we can keep moving. But
Mhm.
when I'm at the gig, and I'm the chief communications officer,
Mhm.
and my first year there, holidays would come up, and I'd craft a message from our leader, and she would send it,
Mhm.
and it would be it'd be Asian Islander and
Yeah, API.
pride and
Yep.
blah blah blah. But I'm writing this shit, right?
Right.
And then it dawned on me, like, why am I crafting messages about Hanukkah? Like, that's not
That
my
ain't nothing.
lane.
Your lane, right?
So I went to folks in the
You're a
organization.
resident Jew.
Bubby.
Yeah. I went to the folks in the organization who actually celebrated. This is a cultural piece to them, and had them write what these
And had them
holidays
do it.
mean to them,
Right.
and they sent it out to the organization.
Which makes way
Makes
more
sense.
sense.
But
What makes
it
it
didn't
more
even occur to
authentic?
me, you know what I'm saying, at first to do that. At first I'm like, I'm gonna tell you how you
This
should
just
celebrate
means-
shit. And here's different links to stuff you can go do and blah blah.
Right.
Like, who am I? Anyway, go ahead.
AAPI by Tyrone Jenkins.
Now, not if we sort of told white folks what they should do. Not really, but we
Not
gave it
really.
a shot. Now, you talked about how you were at the Woodlawn, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. I didn't do anything. I was at home in the bed resting because I'm lazy.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
how do we want to see? We've talked earlier about Black folks. We drink and do a cookout, right? Saw lots of pictures of that. Ideally, do you think that's the path we should take to celebrate this holiday? Should we rethink how we're celebrating this holiday? Should we actually drive up and down? I'd rather we go to white folks' neighborhood, North Avenue in Wells, and block their streets with our red, black, and green flags, playing "Fuck the Police." Like what
I don't know about that, but-
ideally
Okay.
you like that?
I don't know.
Jesus,
I
really?
tried.
No, that's a little step back.
Some public enemy though.
Maybe some
That's
PE.
Not now.
Oh, okay.
That
maybe
was-
maybe PE, not NWA.
Right.
Anyway.
Oh, NWA.
Okay. How would we like to see going forward we celebrate this?
Well, I think that there's a lot of. I think it'd be interesting to hear, and I actually need to check it with my dad on this because I think I'd love to hear the elderly opinion of
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
Because these are the people that have lived through like Jim Crow. They've lived through all kinds of, the Operation Push days, Operation Bread. I would love to hear. In fact, I'm gonna ask my father
Please
what his
do.
thoughts are on this because I don't think we leverage those viewpoints enough.
That's a good point.
And I think that, we, and in our own like family scenarios, we should probably do that just to get a perspective. And I'm not sure if this is, how we celebrate it going forward. Do we have a party where we have an elder talk to us? I don't know if that's a thing, but I think that individually,
None of us would
we
come.
probably should, just to get a perspective that we don't have. Because this is new to us,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, with 4th of July, there really isn't any significance of 4th of July, right? We barbecue, we pop fireworks, we go to parties. I think Juneteenth is the same thing. I think Juneteenth gives us an opportunity to highlight the holiday, but it also, like what we saw with the Woodlawn, is you bring Black businesses together. You bring Black people together, specifically for that holiday. And I actually, since the federal law was passed a year after George Floyd, I actually would want for us to commemorate what happened with George Floyd over anything else, because that was the catalyst for all of this.
it was. You're right.
Right? That set off something worldwide that we have never seen before. And right, we need to remember that, right?
Yeah.
That, that Chauvin kneeling on his neck like that, being seen all over the world like that, it sparks something in everybody everywhere.
Yep.
And so Juneteenth being the very, very first federal holiday has been passed in 4 decades. I mean, obviously, like we're saying initially when we opened this conversation, it was an opportunity for President Biden to kind of show some solidarity with the Black community. He took advantage of it, and so in terms of how we should celebrate it, I think we should tie it. There should be some economic tie-in with the holiday. Let's do something that helps us move the economic ball forward more for us than what we do on the 4th of July, which is the same thing we're going to do on Juneteenth anyway.
Yeah, I think that a little more positivity should be. As a matter of fact, I have a great idea. On
Love to hear.
Juneteenth every year, Derek Chauvin should be given an extra year in prison. How about that?
How about that? Love that. And I think, Dean, that's two excellent points, right?
Yes,
Like
definitely.
part of it was George Floyd. Part of it was some of the other horrible acts we saw. A big part of it was we were sitting at home because we were in the middle of a pandemic,
Right.
and you were
So many
pretty much
things,
forced to
perfect
sit
storm.
there. There was no distraction. There was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's terrible. They did that at Black Man. Ready for go to dinner, honey? No, you was sitting there and you was
Yeah.
watching it because it wasn't
Right.
nothing else
Every
to do.
day.
All the cameras were
All the
right
cameras
there.
right
Right
there.
there,
So I think not letting that moment escape us as best as
Absolutely
possible
not. Absolutely not. We
is
should
is
remember it.
key.
I agree with you.
And putting it in front of everybody every year
Absolutely.
is important. And I think that economic piece is huge. We're always talking about how we can move forward as a people, as a
Yeah.
collective, and we
Mhm.
can't align on this, we can't align on that. I think what all of us could align on, or at least agree with, is that we need better representation of dollars in our businesses.
Absolutely.
Nobody's gonna argue against that.
Absolutely.
So if we can figure out a way, at least on that day,
Mhm.
for the government
Mhm.
to support our businesses in some way, shape, or form, I think that's huge. What did Mike say? I know he's
Oh yeah, Mike. Was,
Mike
He
is
basically
I talked
said,
to Mike about this the other day. It's a
It's
nothing
nothing burger.
burger for Black people. It's
Mike,
like-
you might have just tuned in. We talked about the reparations piece earlier.
Yeah, we did. We sure
except
did.
for reparations. I think so. It's interesting what you guys say, right? And I think people are going to make strides, or at least Black people are going to make strides to have events where it showcases Black entrepreneurial something or other, right? Whether it's musicians or, caterers or whatever, right? What I think about is like my grandmother, right? Every Thanksgiving, we would sit in front of the TV and watch Ben-Hur. I cannot
Ben-Hur.
imagine a Thanksgiving. I'm going somewhere. Just follow me. Just
Okay.
keep going.
Why Ben-Hur?
That's what I'm saying.
The Bears played on Thanksgiving for years.
But we're watching Ben-Hur. I like Black people to create that kind of legacy or that kind of memory for their kids, right? It's in relation to
So you're saying
Juneteenth.
we should watch Jim Brown or somebody Juneteenth?
Sure. Or if there's some kind of
Roots? You want to watch
documentary.
We should watch The
Not
Help.
Roots.
Or
The hell?
something not related to the holiday at all, like Ben-Hur.
Not
Are
Ben-Hur.
you trying to relate to Black people?
Right.
What I'm
What the hell
saying
Ben-Hur
is,
got to do with Thanksgiving?
I don't know. That
Our
was her
grandmother
thing.
liked it. I don't know.
Right.
But that was her thing for Thanksgiving. So what I'm saying is it's an opportunity for Black families to sit and create some kind of memory, some kind of thing that lives on, some tradition that lives on. I would hate for it to be Ben-Hur because that movie was terrible.
Mhm.
But
I would.
It could be a
You know
rumor.
what? To your point, I would be open to sitting and watching, documentaries on Juneteenth about Black people that have been killed. Give me a 2-hour documentary about Breonna Taylor or George Floyd
Or Emmett Till.
Emmett Till's. Give me something that teaches me and educates us about the Black person's plight in this country as it pertains to racism.
yeah, I mean, and there's
remind me of that, right?
there was a documentary I watched on like Black actors where they talked about their experience in Hollywood and things they've had to overcome. Like we can take opportunities to watch various Black experiences and educate ourselves through Netflix, through PBS, whatever. I think that would be a really great, because everybody's not going to be an entrepreneur and everybody's not going to have money to go out, but
Right.
you can always sit and create a tradition with your family.
Yeah, and it's so hard to do that during the summer because everybody wants to be outside.
Fair.
During Thanksgiving it's easy because it's cold. Everybody wants to be
Right.
outside.
Everyone wants to be in.
Everybody got a TV outside in their backyard. Y'all can barbecue
and watch TV.
and watch
Well,
Roots.
if you're barbecuing, and if you're in that,
First of all, bougie.
He
Ass,
said
everybody's not having TV in their
He
backyard.
said,
Yeah,
how about
they.
the
I live in the hood.
heartbeats?
How
Yeah,
about
they
the
do.
5 heartbeats?
5 heartbeats.
I mean,
I got to fight every night, right? Through my love. I think that's great, and I think so. You asked, or you mentioned, you started out with what do we do on Juneteenth, this particular Juneteenth.
Yeah.
And I did. The wife and I did take a moment to have a conversation with our youngest. Our oldest two weren't there, obviously. They're out being grown, but the younger two about what this holiday meant, what it means, what it's potentially about. And and how we've reached this moment in history. And it's interesting because I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they got 1,000,001 questions, right? And if you broach any subject with them, especially a 9-year-old, why? Well, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
That's
Like, we know it doesn't.
Yeah, I know it doesn't. I'm just telling you this is what
like,
it is, and everything in life is not going to make sense. And you'll soon find that out.
Yeah.
So I think if everybody, took that moment, and I know that like brothers like Michael, I already know his kids are even younger, and I know he got them. I know they know, right?
Probably
Like
tell us about.
I'm sure they could,
Yeah.
or why Juneteenth ain't shit. So I know that, but to be realistic, that's not most of us.
But that doesn't mean we can't create that because
I'm not saying we should.
We're creating this for Black people, that they would do something to educate all of us on our own history. Because hell, I couldn't have told you anything past Martin Luther King, I don't know, 20 years ago.
Well, the same thing we're saying we just said we want white people to do. I think we should turn that lens inward.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just as Thanksgiving has evolved, this is our opportunity to start something that will evolve.
Absolutely.
And let's start off right.
Exactly.
So when it evolves
correctly,
even.
so that it evolves into something meaningful as opposed to like just a reason to get drunk.
Absolutely.
It's Juneteenth. Where the Henny at? You know,
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Sunday, the day before.
Or if you're gonna drink, at least drink Uncle Nearest or some black liquor.
Right,
Like,
Uncle Nearest is perfectly fine.
I'm just saying,
I drink Uncle Nearest.
if you're gonna do it,
Little Moore's.
Little Morris Brewery, shout out to them.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. Dope event on Friday, by the way,
If I
guys.
drank beer, I'd try.
Emancipation Ball.
I missed that.
Awesome.
I heard about
I didn't know about
I
it.
did.
It was awesome.
I still can't believe
Sean
you
Mack and
didn't know
I
about
DJ
did not
Envy.
know anything about it.
DJ Envy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jake was there looking fly.
Yeah, Jake got on a bow tie.
That's
He
right.
was
A
cute.
couple of the sisters was like, "Who's the slim white guy?"
Did they really?
No, I'm just sorry.
I'm
But they might have.
sure
They
know.
didn't ask me, but they might have
I'm sure
asked
they
somebody
did.
else.
Oh, I think we ran through our questions.
We
Oh, we have
didn't.
one
No,
more.
we got another.
We
I
have
know we got at
one
least
more.
one more.
We do. All right, Gina.
Yes.
Should this be the last holiday? Should we add more holidays to the corporate calendar for Black folks or for any folks, really?
I mean, I feel like there's always room for another day off. That's okay. I don't know that we should. I mean, see, we've added. Okay, so King Day was added.
Uh-huh.
Now we've had Juneteenth that was added. Well, the King Day was the last one that was added, right?
the
That was,
last one.
that was the
Yeah.
one in the what was that in the 80s?
1963.
No, but it was.
64?
I wasn't. Was it not? I thought it was not added to the
No.
calendar till the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Officially.
Officially.
Federal holiday
Yeah.
was the 80s.
And so now, I mean, listen, if we want to throw some more holidays on for Black people, I don't
Malcolm
see any
X should get
problem
a
with
day.
it.
You-
Hell, Rosa Parks.
No.
Why can't Rosa Parks have a holiday?
Rosa Parks was the front. I'm not.
Don't matter. She's still
Rosa Parks was up front.
She was-
man.
she was
Yeah.
the front.
She was just tired.
Okay,
yeah.
but how about the
She was
boycott?
tired.
Can the bus
They
boycott
don't
get a
count.
day
The
then?
bus boycott, but we're not.
Lord,
I
have
mean,
mercy.
who knows?
Salute to
Who
Sister
knows?
Parks. I'm just.
I wouldn't rule it out. I just can't. I can't see what else would warrant it. Like in terms of like what do we? You know
It
what I mean?
doesn't have to be us. It could be like Chinese,
Yeah,
Japanese internment camp day.
but
I don't know,
Jesus Christ.
No,
Can we
but
not
that
do
was a
that?
thing.
But not in camp. What? We'll give that a day?
Camp day.
Wait a minute.
What do you
We-
do to celebrate that?
Jesus Christ. We don't celebrate Holocaust Day. I mean, what are we talking about?
And that's a shame we don't, quite
We
frankly.
should not celebrate Holocaust Day. What are we
The
talking
ending
about?
of we do celebrate the ending of it. But see, the Jewish people have their shit down.
That's what I'm saying.
They've got
It
their
should
No,
just
but
be-
Island
holidays.
Pacificers. You know,
Island Pacific.
You know what I'm saying. Well, they don't have any
Pacific Islanders.
Pacific
Oh,
Islanders.
but
But we don't know
no.
their history.
But you know what? They're federally protected though. So you know what? See, if you notice, you see how quickly it became a federal crime to fuck with
to fuck
Asian
with them.
people.
Yeah.
You see how quickly
Right,
that became a crime.
right,
You
yeah.
see how quick that bill got passed. They still can lynch Black people.
Yeah.
Yet,
Still are.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's work on that. Like that's what I would prefer to
Yeah.
work on.
an anti-lynching.
Yeah, fuck a
That's
day
true.
off.
Yeah.
Let's make that a federal crime
Yeah.
because those Asian people push that shit through so fast.
Oh,
Yeah.
what is
And we
that
still
about?
and there was some talk about the obviously that George Floyd bill didn't
Yeah.
get pushed
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
either,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
So
I would
let's-
prefer to have
let's-
legislation
absolutely
than to have
let's-
days off.
Yeah. Let's talk about
Let's talk about something real.
Yeah.
Can we do
Because they
both?
just throw something topical at Black people and be like, "Oh, y'all should be happy. Y'all can eat collard greens for another day."
Well, I think
I'm like,
that's
no,
I think
give
that's
me some legislation.
I think that's Mike's point that we feel easily distracted by bullshit.
Yeah.
Were we distracted by this though? I mean, really?
Some
do
of
we-
us are.
Some
people just look for any
I
reason
don't
not to
know.
go to
I
work
feel
that
like
day.
the whole aftermath after George Floyd was a smokescreen. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I've been working in corporate America for about 23 years, and so we have these conversations all the time.
Mhm.
And this
LinkedIn is
was
full to bursting with them.
yeah. And this whole the way they parlayed this with diversity, equity, inclusion is just it was a joke. It is a distraction. It was a moment for politicians to strike a quick win.
Where they got to participate in it as well.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
Right, because they chilling at the crib.
absolutely,
Right.
That day.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
They
companies
ain't on the hill. Yeah.
companies, stepped it up to get notoriety for their organizations by, taunting all these DEI initiatives, and now we see all that waning off now.
Mhm.
It's very widely reported that all these DEI initiatives are now tanking.
Yeah.
Right after
Right.
George Floyd. So while it was great to see it during the pandemic and after, it was a smokescreen. Do we have more people in leadership that are of color now as a result of all this?
A fraction of a percent, yes.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
you get to hear people talk shit about diversity
Yeah,
and how, like, wouldn't you just rather hire the best person for the job?
yeah.
What if the best person for the job is a white person? And it's like, well, okay, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I've had on LinkedIn. Don't start me. I will have several arguments. I'm an
sure.
executive recruiter. I can go there with you.
Yeah.
But I would much rather have something real that has
Yeah.
more financial impact and more kind of social impact.
Absolutely.
Like, how about, prison and parole reform? Let's talk about that. Let's
Absolutely.
talk about the unfair implications of that.
Mhm.
Let's talk about making it a federal crime to have hate crimes against Black people. That's
Mhm.
still not legislated anywhere.
Mhm.
Let's talk about all those things.
My only concern about legislation, right? Just given what they did with Roe v. Wade.
Well, it could be
is-
overturned.
And that's my concern.
It's
Unless
50
they
years
they
later.
ratify it, is that the right word?
Yeah.
It just leaves open space for them to come back 20 years from now and say Black people don't need us no more.
But I would rather have 20 years of it than, than have
Let's
no
get it and then
consideration.
worry about that.
Mhm.
Right.
And they also create like affirmative action, right? That was built so that we can have more opportunity. And the truth of the matter is, and when was that put in place? I don't
That
know.
was decades ago.
Yeah.
1960. Let's say 1969.
I think it's
Can we say that it's actually been effective? Do we really feel like we have a fair shake in
Well,
corporate America?
There were some things put
No.
in place.
no, but fairer. Have some people benefited from that.
People
Sure.
have benefited
And
from
who's
it.
benefited
But-
the most?
But were we gonna 50 years later, after 500 years of slavery, be on equal footing? No.
No.
But I think we thought that it was going to get us there. I guess
I
what
mean, it could still. It's never gonna happen in this
I
country.
mean, we're still going to be, because what we don't have is Black people. We don't have generational wealth.
That's the
just
point.
yeah.
And that's and we are, because of systemic racism and institutional, racism, which can kind of be on par with one another,
Mhm.
really, if you think about it. But we don't have that, and that's really going to be what changes things. For
No,
us.
I agree.
It would take people, and we said this a million times on the show, it would take people in power to be willing to give up their power. And that's just not.
And no
And
one's
their
doing
money.
that.
Yeah. The power leads to the
But
money.
the thing is, it's like, and everyone has the attitude that someone must lose for others to win, and that's not really accurate.
Isn't that the American motto, though? I
That
feel
someone
like
must
that's,
lose
that's
for
one
someone
of
else
the
to
pillar.
win?
You got to give up
Us.
something.
Yeah, in order for somebody to
That
be
top-
rich,
that-
somebody has to be poor.
Well,
I don't
So
agree with
no.
that.
Somebody be
I don't
ultra
agree with
rich,
that.
like billionaire. Like, why
Yeah,
the fuck you got to be a billionaire? I mean,
I
don't take it
wouldn't
wrong. I would
mind.
be a billionaire,
I
but
really don't act like you would.
no.
be
But what I'm
one.
saying is,
Why do you need- I
if we
agree.
isn't 60 million enough? Like,
Isn't 10
and then-
billion enough?
and then we could disperse the rest of those funds to other folks. But again, that's not how capitalism in America is set up.
It's
So
not.
we're talking pie in the sky, right? The top 0.01% owns 90% of the wealth of this country, and that's just never changing. So if we're ever looking for this equality, we're never getting it here.
I totally agree with you.
I'm not saying that everyone should be a millionaire. Everyone doesn't even aspire to be a millionaire. Everyone doesn't aspire to make 6 figures a year, but make a wage that makes sense for how they want to live,
Completely
right?
agree.
And it's
Livable.
It's livable wage. I mean, that's
And not
all
the bullshit
people
livable
want.
wage they define right
Is to be
$15 an
a
hour.
truly livable wage where you don't consider robbing somebody because you can pay your bills. You know what I mean? Like that's the inception of a lot of crime and a lot of like petty crime. you know, an opportunistic crime.
Mhm.
And so if we had more access to capital that way, and combined with, you know, kind of not being able to get out of the prison and parole system because you did something stupid when you were a child,
Mhm.
combined with, you know, I mean, there's all
you can
these
keep going.
different, you can
That's
go
right.
on for
Layers to it,
hours on
yeah.
this.
Mhm.
And so I would prefer, if we're going to have anything, to have something like that. Let's really examine, let's unravel some of this,
Mhm.
and let's have somebody really pay some attention to it who can do something about it.
So basically, to sum it up, reparations.
Well, is
Okay.
reparations really
You know
going
how
to
I
be a
feel about
solve for that?
reparations.
No, it's
You
not.
said what?
Is
Because-
reparations the solve?
No,
You know how I
Well,
feel
you
about
said
reparations.
generational wealth.
Well, I did, but
Reparations
I
ain't giving nobody
also, it needs to be combined with, and you know, everybody's got Pookie in their family, so who knows what generational wealth is. I mean, there needs to be education. There needs to be so much.
I mean, we've
You
seen
always know I'm on
there's
the
been
reparations train.
yeah, there's been a lot. You know, have you all seen that the a lot of conversation about universal income? There's some.
I thought that stopped with like Andrew Yang. Was
No,
it?
it didn't. There's a town
Not
out in
Andrew Yang,
California.
Stephen Yang, whatever his.
No, Andrew Yang. Yeah. There's a town out in California. They're actually doing that now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And giving their citizens, you know, a certain amount of money every month. You know, if you give somebody $1, if you don't teach them how to turn that dollar into two, it doesn't matter.
It does not matter. They're going
Right.
to blow it because
So,
they didn't work. For it.
In corporate America,
So I say that for the people in the back.
right. Corporate America is only going to do so much for you. They're going to give you a check every month, but if you don't know how to spend that and create, like you said, generational
Give it
wealth,
right back to you.
you'll give it right back to
You will.
right? So while you know, and I think Evanston they did this a couple of months ago and announced that they were giving reparations, but there were some stipulations there, right?
Right.
It was like you had to live there in a certain time frame to get and have property there.
Otherwise, can you imagine what would happen?
Yeah, I'm probably misquoting.
I'm
it for
moving up
people that
there.
listen. Yeah, right.
Moving. I've been living in Oak Park.
Got the dress.
Been living there.
So, no, I think if you're a person of color in this country, I think you should start a business. I think you should. We need more people that are creators. We need more people in our community that are willing to give value in our community and help other people. And you know, getting a job is great. I've worked a corporate career for a very long time, but I've looked for other ways to create, you know, wealth for myself and create opportunities for myself. And at the end of the day, I do understand that I'm only going to do that by giving to other people, by giving value to other people, whether it's, you know, in my community or in other communities or online or wherever it is. So I just don't, you know, we have this conversation in the context of people working regular jobs and what the government does and what corporate America does for us. But I think we live in a day and age, especially this digital age, where we all have the tools empowered to go out and build value for ourselves and our families. So
We do.
that's what I have.
The digital divide is not as wide as it once was.
Absolutely.
You know,
Everybody got a phone.
Yeah, everybody got a phone.
Everybody got a phone.
Yep.
You can do everything.
You
on
can
this
do
phone.
Everybody's
everything
gonna be a
on a phone.
TikToker.
You can do everything on this phone. I mean,
You
could
could
do a
be.
million.
I mean, look, let me be clear. There are people who are
Get
making, you know,
A lot of money. Absolutely.
like my favorite TikToker, has anybody seen Keith Lee? Does anybody know who he is?
I have not. No.
I love him. He's the one who, but you know, I'll tell you what, watch him, because Keith Lee he's a former MMA fighter, right?
Mhm.
Brother, cute little black family.
Mhm.
He lives in Vegas. What he does is he does food reviews, right? Very honest food reviews. And he really changes the lives of restaurant owners,
Mm.
small and large. And like once he reviews a restaurant and he gives it
A thumbs up. Is
thumbs up, people will be around the block the next
Yeah.
day.
Wow.
It is great. He has like 11,000 followers now.
Wow.
In November, he only had like 7 million. Oh, he has 11 million followers.
I was about to say 11,000. Shit, I got 11,000.
No, but back in, but I mean, he has risen quickly because people love that he's so positive, that he gives, you know, he gives up his time and whatever.
Mhm.
So I mean, that has changed his life,
Yeah.
and he's changing the lives of others. So,
Absolutely.
And to your point, Dean, and it's funny if you look back at your memories and on Facebook or whatever. I don't think Instagram does this yet, but I was looking at my memories a couple of days ago, and I was like, when all this, you know, DEIE and DIB and all this, I was like, all this shit sounds like the wave. They're riding the wave.
Yep.
Let's see what it does in 3 years.
Mhm.
Now it's 3 years, and I'm looking. I'm
Mhm.
like, damn, I hate when I'm right.
That shit nowhere.
Yeah,
Absolutely nowhere.
and also, I was just looking at something I said today about going to college a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and everybody's like, college is overrated. You could do this and you could make your own, and surely you can.
Mm.
But everybody's not built to be an entrepreneur or open their own business or whatever. So I agree with you. There's a million ways to create opportunities to do that. But we need folks in the workforce as well.
We do.
Working for other
We do.
folks.
I'm not
No,
undermining
I know
that.
you're not.
Absolutely.
I know you're not. But my point to saying that is, and Michael, Mike Courts made a good point to my point, and I made this point on this show and others. And we've all kind of said this. If we're not going to have education, financial education to go hand in hand with this, with reparations, then I hate a lot of people's going to run right back to Gucci. They're going to run right back to
Did you see the lines in luxury boutiques?
This is what when the PBI money hit. Yeah,
ooh, Lord.
yeah, they're gonna go and they're gonna trick it off and give it right back. Now, I'm not saying that if you go and invest with Edward Jones or whatever, that you're not also putting it right back into the white financial institution.
That's always my position. But okay.
You are also, hopefully, if you invest right, building wealth for yourself and for generations to come.
Yeah.
Off the back of white people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
have
the
no
same.
You're supporting them too. I mean,
I have no problem
they're making some money too.
That's true.
They're making some money
The same rules that white people use on the stock market are the same rules that apply for everyone, right? And during the pandemic, we saw this whole debacle with GameStop. Was it GameStop?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
the average person, the average person with a computer and account figure out a way to take down large hedge funds. That is the power of the internet, right? They figured out that they were going to short GameStop stock and hedge against these large hedge funds that have billions of dollars, right? So much to the point that Robinhood stopped them, cut them off from trading.
Oh yeah.
Cut me off.
Yeah.
Right, cut them off from trading.
Because I kept buying the shit.
Right.
They cut my ass
Right,
off.
right.
Damn
Cut
right.
them off
I
from
was
trading.
salty.
Right, exactly, right, because everybody was winning.
Apparently, Brian
right.
has his feel real.
Yeah,
Listen,
hurt feelings about that.
Yeah,
listen,
absolutely.
that and Bitcoin, I made a killing off. Go ahead, I digress.
Yeah, so it's those
Some of
tools
that
are out,
car
those
came
opportunities are out there. As
tuition.
We can't hustle and entrepreneur ourselves out of this. I agree. Okay.
To a point, Dorn.
So
To a point, Dorn.
here's
I agree with that.
No, we
here's
can't.
my pushback to that whole like.
Woo, we just spun off Juneteenth. I love
Then
this.
I
Come
know,
on.
but I mean, it's all in the
It's
same
all,
space,
it's all
right?
tied.
And this is where me and you always have this disagreement, right?
Mhm.
I don't have a
One of-
problem if you want to invest, right? And yes, you basically are putting money back in the white man's hands by buying stock at McDonald's and yada yada yada. I just do not think the solution to building black wealth is putting it back in white people's hands in any mechanism.
It's not the only solution.
No.
It's not the solution.
It's not the only. I'm not saying it's the. It's not the only solution. It could be part of the equation.
All I'm
Right.
saying is every time we've seen black communities thrive, you see the exact same thing. If you think of Tulsa, if you think of the ones in North Carolina, if you think of the one that used to be in Central Park,
Shit, you go back
the
to
one in
Rosewood.
Chicago, Rosewood, you see the exact same thing every single time. They invested in their own community. Their money went back into the people who live there. It went back into its own property. They built things in that community.
What
And
happened to them?
what happened to them?
What happened to them?
They got slaughtered by white folks.
So we better let them white folks have a little bit. That's my point. They can give them a little taste. Give them a little taste.
Happy.
A little taste, so we can survive.
This is a lesson.
Make some money. Just sneak on in there.
Every community you just named, what happened to them?
White people killed them.
You got to give white people a little taste. Just a little taste.
Like I said, I stand on my position. We got to put this money back in the community. We have to stop hoarding it for ourselves. It has to start going back into the
our
peanut community.
Yeah.
Period. Regardless of how you feel about the Pookies and the Ray Rays, you have to put the money back in the community. That's the only way black people are going to be able to collectively create wealth. Because you can do it on your own, and you and your family can do it on your own.
I don't disagree.
But that's not moving the needle
don't disagree
forward
with that.
for the community.
If you, it's right.
It's always been
If you got knowledge and you bring it home, and the only one you're teaching are your kids,
That's not helpful.
are you really doing what you're supposed to be doing? Some would say yes. Some would say that's the end of their responsibility, and it's great that you're taking that responsibility because some people aren't. I would argue no.
Yeah.
If I'm not dispersing that to my community in whatever way I can, I'm doing them a disservice, I feel.
So that's still I got.
Anyway, all right. So we are almost at time. This has been an interesting conversation, but we do want to give everybody a minute to go around, and it's a pretty big topic. So
I know. I don't even
Good job.
know.
Good luck
Sum
summing
this
it up.
wherever you want to land, Juneteenth. Should we celebrate it? Should we not? Wherever you want to land, should others get to celebrate it? How would we like to move forward? And you've given some great suggestions already. But how would we like Juneteenth? Well, let's do it this way. 10 years from now, Juneteenth should be.
Oh.
Oh, wow. 10 years from now, I think that's a good question. Where should we be with Juneteenth in 10 years? I think it should be a much more meaningful, even if it's like, okay, we're getting the day off and that's fine. But I think it should be a day where we examine really what more we can do for a disadvantaged population.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, politicians and people in positions of power should get involved and maybe try to create like stepping stones, milestones on an annual basis that moves the needle.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think it should be.
I like that.
Love that. 10 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, it should commemorate. It obviously commemorates obviously the end of slavery, but more importantly, off of what we saw in 2020, there should be some tie-in with that, right? It's it's a holiday that just got passed. Okay, fine, you barbecue and do all those things, but to some points that I stated earlier, there should be something that ties in the significance of why we're celebrating it to begin with, and I'm a big fan of economics. What do we do off of this that helps us push the ball forward? Because it is really about economics. We're talking about it. Black wealth, giving Black people more opportunities to lift themselves up, and so that's kind of what I think. 10 years from now, and there should be something that we commemorate it with. There should be something significant that is beyond a barbecue or just some type of.
Hey man,
holiday.
stop shooting at barbecues, man. You done said a barbecue 16 times.
Listen,
He don't like ribs. That's the problem.
I don't eat much of it, but
I don't eat pork
listen,
chops.
listen, we got 4th of
You
July.
can barbecue mushrooms. You can barbecue everything. Everything gets market.
Some portobello.
Some pineapple.
I don't like mushrooms either.
You can barbecue
Well,
anything.
pineapple. Yeah, but no, that was my comment.
Okay. Is it my turn?
Sean,
Oh man, I don't know if
10
I
years
have
from now.
I don't know if I have a good answer. And I know I say this all the time, but I
You always-
legitimately.
I think this is now. I don't believe you. I think you prefaced this with I don't have a good answer and then say some great things like to set us up. So I don't buy you anything.
I mean, I think I've already said it. I think if you can't do the entrepreneurial thing, if you're not highlighting Black business and not just like barbershops and beauty shops, not that they aren't important because they are, but just have an array of Black business. We have Black businesses on all else. We have Pilates. We have people that make cigars. We have a myriad of Black businesses, and we should really try to showcase the array that and the ingeniousness of Black people when it comes to entrepreneurship. But if you don't have the ability to do something like that, really just take as the opportunity as to educate your family in some kind of way, could create some kind of family legacy, some ritual like my grandmother would Ben Hur. Why was it Ben Hur? I don't know. But
You have to,
you know,
to delve into
that
that.
is related to slavery or some of the other atrocities that Black people have gone through. Just and build and bond with your family. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Did grandma have it on VCR? I'm trying to figure out how.
Yeah,
she had a cassette.
She had
raggedy ass
VCR.
tape.
She had a
It was,
cassette.
it was worn through almost.
Right.
And then when DVD came out, we had DVD.
It probably wasn't
That's
even.
kind of how.
It probably wasn't even like the real. She probably taped it off Channel 7.
Probably.
Well,
y'all had to fast forward past the commercials.
Originally, and sometimes we watch it on TNT. Yes, we did.
Oh,
Okay.
Jesus.
Oh, I
Christ.
actually have an addendum to my answer, but go ahead. Brian.
No,
Go ahead.
The addendum to my answer is that in 10 years, my hope is Juneteenth is considered history as opposed to Black history.
Mm. Yeah.
I want it to be U.S. history
Mm.
and recognized
Mm.
as such and taught in schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's interesting because there are still some companies that are still not recognizing Juneteenth as a
Lots of
holiday today.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of them.
So
Right, so-
your boy Tony said his company just started celebrating Martin Luther King Day 5 years ago. So to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who's this
Yeah.
man who had a dream?
right.
Yeah. Right.
Right. He gave a speech.
Right. Who was that?
What speech?
Content of character or some such
Never
nonsense.
heard a speech.
Right. Right.
So perhaps 10 years from now, Tony will get
Get you a team.
That's my
Yeah.
wish.
Oh my god.
That's
Okay.
crazy.
Anyway.
Me?
Oh my
10
God.
years from now,
10
Juneteenth.
10 years from now. Sean, I'm actually gonna bite. I actually don't have this. I never say this, but I really don't have a great response for this.
Yeah,
It's hard. I do hope though that, to your point, everyone, Black, white, Latino, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, whatever, Ethiopian, Panamanian, Jewish, whatever, right? I hope everybody takes a part. 10 years from now, fuck it, I just had an idea. 10 years from now, I hope that everything is closed until 1 o'clock.
Oh, siesta.
Everything is closed till 1 o'clock, and that time is designated to learn something about history.
I like it.
Black history.
Mhm.
You can't get a ice cream. You can't get maybe you can get your medication. I'll let you go to the doctor or whatever. But
So Walgreens will be open.
These are black
So
people.
only
They
the-
need to be open until 3.
it's fact we'll sleep.
Let's be clear.
But let's designate 4 hours in the morning and early afternoon, whatever it's gonna be. Let's shut down like Barcelona does in the middle of the day.
I like it.
And let's designate that. Now, maybe you won't do it, maybe you will, but and there'll be specials on TV that you can just tune in and watch. There'll be ebooks that are available
More
for
I
free.
like it.
There'll be
Yeah.
no, let's not even do that, right? Let's have some for real,
more
like
city,
these
more city,
conversations you want to have. Let's have some congressional panels on right there and having those conversations.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's move that in that way, where at least we're taking a beat, taking a pause to figure out some positive next steps.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go out and you want to have some Q and you want to drive around with your flag and your NWA blasting, do your thing.
You want fuck the police?
Shout out to Public Enemy. I love
Do
it.
your thing.
Well, shout out to
I
Public
like
Enemy.
it. Oh, that was a good answer, B.
Oh, thank you. It just occurred to me. I have an occasional stroke and it's not my heart.
All right.
All right,
Next
y'all.
week.
So, first of all, thank you to my guest, Gina, as always.
Thank
She's not even a
you.
guest, she's a co-host.
Mhm.
Dean,
Yes,
beautiful way to break it in the zone, Cherry. We're
Yes.
definitely going to have you back.
Will
absolutely.
you come back?
Absolutely.
We didn't even get funky on this one. He better come back.
Oh, now we got to bring him back some bullshit next time. He's going to be like,
Now
What
he's
is
Oh, yeah,
it?
next time.
Now
Next
we're
time it's
Chris
gonna
and
be
Gina
some-
show.
next time it's gonna be some fuck shit.
Yeah,
this is
I
what we
might be
do.
with it.
Yeah. So
I got a good idea for next week, by the way.
next week I know one, Kenya Simone, the most popular person we've ever had on the podcast, has requested to come on next week, and she wants some raunchy nonsense.
Oh, I don't know if it's raunchy. but I
Well,
think
she just
she'll
said
appreciate it.
some bull.
So I'll share it, and then people in the comments can say if they like it or not. So my least favorite person in the world, Dr. Umar, gave an interesting perspective.
Whoa! Wait a minute.
That
That's a hot take. Your least favorite person in the
I
world?
do not like Dr. Umar.
Worse than
Johnson.
Trump?
Shots
They
fired.
are
Wow.
here, man.
I think
Like,
he's full of complete and utter bullshit, but he said his idealism is right. He's just a charlatan.
fair. I agree. But he said something interesting, and he said it's black men's fault that black women are so masculine. And I want to talk about
I saw
it.
that clip.
I want to talk about
I
it.
saw that.
Let's discuss.
There's so much wrong with that
Let's
statement.
discuss.
No, he had a valid point, right?
Oh.
He was saying
No,
that.
no.
Okay.
No, he won't be on this. This is a
Okay,
fleeting.
we're-
Yeah,
Okay,
he was
fully
he was basically saying that black women have had to take on roles because of black men missing in the community, and that has caused them to take on masculine traits.
We just kinda
historically.
touched on
But-
this shit.
Oh,
But-
no. But
There's a caveat to that, right? And the caveat is that black men have been systemically removed from the community. We don't talk about that,
Mhm.
right? So that's why I diverge with him on that perspective, because what people don't understand and what they don't want to recognize, especially black women, is that black men are targeted. Black
That's what
women,
Lee says.
yeah, black women have most of the economic power in the black community. You all make the most money in this community,
Absolutely.
right? So if you all making the most money, we don't have that power. We don't have the power and the leeway in corporate America the way black women do. That was by design. That's where he stops. And I understand his point, right? He's saying right now black men need to step up, and we do.
Mhm.
And I agree
We
with
gotta
that.
own.
We do
I'll
need
show
to
up on
own
this,
it. We
sure.
do need to we need to do more, but it's hard for us to do more because of these systemic things.
yes.
She
But
said-
if
We
you
might not have
if
Dean on
you
next
li-
week.
if you
Dean might be a two-piecer.
But see, here's and maybe you do need to come back. If you listen to the rebuttals of the men in the room,
Mhm.
it wasn't none of what you were saying. It was very, well, why I gotta do it?
Yeah.
Well, I
yeah,
did what I was supposed
yeah.
to do. Why she dated Red
Yeah,
Pookie? So
it is.
we gotta.
I mean,
We
Yeah.
gotta talk.
that's not right.
But that's
Right.
not what Umar's saying. That's not what Umar's saying, and this is why we need to talk about it because Umar
Mhm.
bring up some interesting perspectives.
Let's talk about
that
it.
I don't think we talked about with it.
Mhm.
And it's not from a systemic perspective. It is really about some leadership and some ownership. And I'm like, huh?
Can we inject some sex in there somewhere?
I mean, are
There's
we gonna have
always-
sex? People having sex
always
in the middle of our
sex.
conversation.
I mean, sex is a power dynamic.
Yeah, it is.
That we
That's
don't even.
nothing to do with.
Don't
Fine,
matter.
we can talk about it.
We
But
ain't got to stick to exactly what he said. It's my show, not his show.
fine.
It's our show.
Right,
Yes,
I'm gonna talk about
I
sex.
think it would be interesting to talk.
People
about
want to see us talk about
I
sex.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
You gonna come back next week and talk and argue with me
Sure.
about it?
Y'all come back. Yeah.
Oh snap!
Next week, wear a tank top. It's going to be even hotter.
See, she
See
already.
my attire.
she
is.
ready, right.
You know what? Chris, if you're still watching, I give you shit about wearing a tank tops because you think you be working out. Maybe that ain't it.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, we will obviously we know what we will be talking about next week. I look forward to seeing
Unless
everybody.
something crazy happens, and we might have to change
Oh
it.
yeah.
Hold
fair.
on, real fast before we leave. Real quick round robin. People dying in that submarine.
You know, that side of Titanic is what, 13,000 feet down. I read that they did some I guess expeditionary trips on this sub, and there was some issues before they even went on this third or fourth trip. So $250,000 to take this trip down to see this wreckage that is pretty much almost depleted because it's been down there almost a century or over a century.
Oh, it's been over a century, yeah.
Like I don't know. Five people aboard that sub. One of the passengers on that sub was a son or something of a billionaire in India. We don't do risky stuff like that. So I don't. I hope they find these people. Last I checked, they had 40 hours of air in the sub. I hope they find them.
That was like 2 days ago. They got to be at 2 hours at this point.
Right.
We got.
Yeah.
It's gonna take us about 7 hours to get back up. We got an hour
Right.
there.
And how they going to get them? Anyway.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I just wondered, did these people not have wives that said, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life, and you're not going?
Right.
That's all I wonder.
Yeah.
Well,
If
who are these
you-
people's wives?
If you have a certain economic status, your wife can't tell you
Nothing.
shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
pray
sure.
for 'em.
Yeah.
That's what
See, you are such a kind heart. Sean,
You got to know what I'm about to say.
go. What you gonna say?
I don't give a fuck about
I
white
knew you
people
were gonna
shit.
say. I knew you were gonna- They weren't all white.
I don't give. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me retract. I don't give a fuck about rich people shit. I promise you, I don't. If you wasted your 200,000 and you got stuck looking at some shit that there are countless documentaries on, I don't know what you want. I can't.
But
feel
you want
bad
to see
for
it in
you.
person. You don't want to see it
I
on your
don't
TV.
give a fuck. You honestly could have spent that money on something way more productive than trying to see a wreckage. To his point, that's barely there. It's probably like one little anchor left. The fuck? I don't feel bad. I'm sure their families will mourn, but I don't have not
She's
one
dead already.
fuck about some rich
She's
people
like, they
shit.
dead.
Oh, they're dead.
They dead.
They're dead. They in the upper room.
And on top of that,
What a
small
terrible
rant.
way to die.
Small-
What an awful way to die.
Small
Yeah.
rant about the media. Why have we for the last 4 days been talking about this shit?
You know why?
What the fuck?
You know why?
Because ain't nothing else happening.
No. Oh, it's other shit happening. That's why we've been talking about this.
Oh, fair.
It's a
You know what?
distraction.
Fucking Trump is indicted. We ain't said shit about that in a week because we worried about the dumbass Titanic people.
Just that shit is so.
Yeah.
I don't give a
Hey, listen.
fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
I haven't been paying attention to this at all.
Listen, they all. I didn't even realize what was happening until yesterday. I was like, what do y'all keep talking about the Titanic for?
I had to go look it up.
Yeah.
Because somebody posted about it on Facebook. I think it was Spencer. I think someone posted something about, oh, my heart goes out to the families of the people that are blah, blah, blah. And I was like, families of people?
People that doing what?
What are they doing?
I thought
And I
it was.
had to go dig for that.
I thought it was like the 30th anniversary of the movie or something. I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. They signed a waiver that said, we understand this shit probably don't work, and you are taking your life into your own hands.
Well, then there you go.
We have had multiple attempts at this, and there's been a failure on every attempt. So if you
Right.
go,
Prophecy fulfilled. Then.
Yeah.
Listen, I am you guys think I'm an idiot. I love wild animals, right? Like I love
Mhm.
any kind of animal. And I've been to Africa, and I've gone into,
safaris,
I've
yep,
gone,
same.
but I've gone
Mhm.
into places with cheetahs, and I've been like, I want a cheetah experience. I've interacted, and I know fully well when I signed that waiver that I might come out of there without an arm. You know
I've
what I
never
mean?
done any
Like,
of that.
I love doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got an opportunity to move your ass around if you see it
Right.
coming at you, right?
Right.
There's an enclosure, you can
Oh,
hit up the
good
fence or
luck.
whatever.
Good
I'm
luck.
not saying it's gonna happen good for you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying
No,
is
what I'm saying,
you have an
no, you
opportunity.
don't.
If you trap down in that motherfucking
You-
sub,
you
you ain't got
fucked.
no opportunity.
You fucks.
Listen, every time I get on a roller coaster, I'm like, this is dumb as shit. And I know when I bought this ticket, I primarily signed a waiver saying, if this motherfucker roll off the tracks, that
That's
was
all
on me.
you, brother.
Which is why I don't ride them motherfuckers no more.
I mean, there's some
we
things
trying
that
to
I'm like,
Compare this to a roller
I don't
coaster.
do
Anything
things
where
in
you put-
oceans.
Anything you put in your Gina's plant, anytime you're stepping into an environment, hot air balloons,
So I don't do that shit.
parasailing, parachuting, all that shit's life threatening,
All
right?
that
Yeah.
adrenaline shit.
Yeah, all that. You are signing a waiver that says if this chute don't open, that's your ass, Mr. Postman, and you cannot sue us.
And there's a law of,
But what I'm
Oh.
saying is,
uncertainty.
I never got the shit about the Titanic. It's been a lot of motherfucking ships that sank. I don't know why the Titanic is so goddamn important. I don't know if they thought they was gonna see Jack and Rose. I don't know what they thought was down there. It's an awful way to go.
This is how you know they don't
Rose
have
lived.
nothing to spend
Oh,
fucking
yes,
money on.
she did live.
This is
Oh, that's right. Rose did live with us stinking. Anyway, that's a whole other.
He did.
Rose was the worst motherfucking movies. I swear.
this
her
is
raggedy.
even more reason we need to put the money back into the community and instead of hoarding it because we do stupid shit like
What
this.
if they all spent that
Well,
$250
everyone doesn't do
for-
stupid shit.
Right.
for a greater food suppository? Absolutely, I agree.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, we
Well, we have so
spun
much
off, but
money
I
that
could
they
not.
might have.
I could not have that conversation for 2 seconds to see what everybody was doing. Y'all have a great Wednesday. I know it's summertime. I know everybody that watched. I appreciate you watching. You got a million other places you can be, but you choose to be with us. Go out, enjoy yourself. Go sit on your porch for a little bit, have a drink.
Barbecue.
Go
Have some watermelon.
go barbecue some
Watermelon.
pineapple and shit. And we will see you next week, same ITZ time, same ITZ channel. Talk to you then.
Bye.